Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to the King Geo Show. Welcome to the King Geo Show. Well, today is Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. And I want to say thank you to each and one of you who have joined or who are going to join. But today we have a special guest. His story is remarkable, as I can see. So here he is. I put you on hold. I put you by mistake. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a distinguished gentleman by the name of Attorney Edward Martel. I saw his story on TikTok, believe it or not, and on Facebook, and I wanted, and his story inspired me because it's something that we all need someone, we all need some inspiration. We all have a tendency to follow athletes, and which is nothing bad with that, and the movie stars. But I wanted to put you on because you're like us. You're an average Joe, and you went from one situation, to where it got you today. So I wanted you to tell the people who you are, where you're from, and then we'll continue on going the story of how you became the attorney that you are today.
And well, first and foremost, Gio, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I appreciate it greatly. You were one of the first to reach out to me once the story kind of took off, and I gladly accepted. I appreciate it. So let me say this: you're right. I often tell people, don't let the suit fool you. I'm just a regular guy, right?
Right there,
And
you go.
my background is the same. I'm third generation Mexican American, soy Chicano, and my grandfather worked in the fields. Poteet, Texas. Um, used to come up here to Detroit seasonally and started working at the auto plants, right, in the auto industry. Got a job in the auto industry. I was born, mid '70s, '77. So at that time, my mother, she wasn't married. So of course, I was raised by my mother. I have had two siblings at that time, and I have three now. But my mother, she raised us good, man. I mean, she taught us ethics, moral values. She raised us in the faith, very strong in the faith. And but when there's not a father in the house, man, it's hard to teach a young man which direction to go in. And we were raised, lower socioeconomic, low income housing, government assistance, the whole piece. And looking back, I never knew we were broke, to be honest. Because my mother
No one
made it
does. No
stretch.
one
My
does.
mother made it stretch, right? I mean, I thought we were doing great, but there's always temptation when you get into your teenage years, and of course, I fell into the streets, and eventually, um, to be honest, my first exposure to the justice system, Geo, and I don't talk about this a lot because people just want to know, what, how did you get, they
Oh,
just want to know the courtroom story, right? They don't want to know the in between, right? But there's a lot. My first exposure to the justice system was my
you're
uncle.
having
He was
technical difficulties.
okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you, Mr. Martel? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wait. We having technical. I can barely hear you. Everything's sounding muffled.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So just, hold on, man. Let me see because my computer here is not.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you from my phone. Can you see me now?
I can.
I'm sorry, the internet just went completely down.
No problem at all.
What, man, whatever you do, don't get Spectrum.
I'm sorry?
I said, whatever you do, don't ever get Spectrum.
Hey, so listen,
So you were saying before we got interrupted by this internet.
no, you know what? And these are regular problems, man, for regular people, Dio. And you know what? Again, don't let the suit fool you, man. I'm dealing with all the same things, man. So listen, go ahead.
So you were saying that
Yeah. So I
you
don't
came from
feel
a single single mom.
Single mom. You know the story. You've heard it 100 times, right? I guess the story isn't that we started out at the bottom, but the story is that we overcame all these challenges, right? I'm gonna give you a story that I don't often share, right? And that is what one of the things that made me want to be an attorney that initially sparked my interest in the law, and that was my uncle catching the case. And it's a crazy story. My first exposure to the justice system, Detroit, Wayne County Circuit Court. I was 12 years old. My mama pulled me and she was with me, Thea, my aunt, and my cousin. They pulled us out of school. We were the same age, 12 years old. We went to the same school. She pulled us out. She took us down to Detroit, big courthouse, sat us in this big courtroom, and I really didn't know what was going on, man. And she, my uncle was on trial for a charge. And our family to this day contends that he was innocent. And the thing is, man, if you don't have money, you don't get fair and proper representation. You know how it is, and it's unfortunate. And I don't think, and my family didn't have any legal knowledge or even knowledge of the system, the process. So, my grandfather, in retrospect, if he had to do it again, I'm sure he would mortgage the house, right? But he didn't, and he let my uncle get a public defender, and it was a very brief trial. Long story short, one witness case. My uncle got convicted, and they gave him 7 years. And he used to call all the time, and I'd get on the phone with him. He'd be down there in Jackson Penitentiary, and he'd say, Eddie, don't ever come to this place, And he did 7, man. And 2 weeks before he was to be released, he was dropped off the top tier. And so he never came home. And it messed me up, man. And to be honest with you, it messed my whole family up. My grandma's still upset. But that's a story. It's hard to swallow, man. But that really made me want to. I feel like if I can give my client representation in some way, man, I feel like I'm saving my uncle every time. It's
that's good. That's good. Yeah. My condolences to that.
But back to the I jumped off the porch. I wouldn't listen to my mother. 13. First time in the juvenile system, back in there at 15, did a little time in Wayne County juvenile detention facility. And then I dropped out of school when I got home from there. Pretty much left the house not too long after that. And, was out here in the streets just chasing money, essentially. The next 10 years in and out pretty frequently. I never did no prison stretch or significant time. But I stayed involved in the system.
All right. And when you went after how many felonies you have before you went in front of the judge?
In totality, I had been in front of plenty of judges. Pretty much had some type of court appearance, infraction, whether it be misdemeanor or felony, in every city in Wayne County, just about. I mean, you got to understand, it was from age 13 to nearly age 30, right? And this was my lifestyle. So it really was only by the grace of God that this change occurred. But ultimately, what brought me before the judge was a 2005 delivery of crack cocaine charge.
And that charge, you would have been convicted. You would have gotten what?
1 to 20 years. And in fact, I was out on, I came in front of the judge probably March of 05, February or March of 05. It was in July. So I got out on bond. And I was out and I was doing good for a couple months. Then in July of 05, the day before my mother's birthday, July 20th, and I got caught in another sting operation. Same thing, delivery of crack cocaine. and I just knew it was over for me right at that time. So essentially I was on there for I was two charges, same charge, and I'm right in front of this judge, and I just knew that he was going to give me the book, as they say.
Ooh. And you went in front of, I think it was Judge Moore?
Judge Bruce Morrow, Third Circuit Court. Yes, sir.
I saw an interview that you did with him the other day, and both of you were together. And I gotta give him props too, because what I wanted, there'll be no other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see too many judges like that.
No. And that's what the bigger issue. I think that people, it's really notable, and we can't let it by us. Is it's his judicial philosophy. He didn't just do this for me. This is how he believes, right? He believes in giving people opportunities, and he's adamant that it's not a second chance; it's an opportunity, right? Because with opportunities, resources, and a little bit of love, we can get it done.
Yeah, that is true, because I've been in front of judges, and you got some of them who are strict.
Yeah.
They would say, I met a judge one time that they told the defendant, "You see the buttons of my shirt? That's how many years I'm going to give you."
Wow.
And then you get some judges who are lenient, who are willing to work with you, and say, "You know what? I see something in you. I'm going to give you a chance." And those are the chances that one has to take, like you did. So what happened when you went in front of Morrow? What was said? What did you tell him? What did he tell you? And from that moment on, how did you do that 360?
Yeah, so the moment I met Judge Morrow, it's funny because you walk in this courtroom, and there's about nine floors in this big building. It's a justice center, and there's four courtrooms on each floor. So there's a lot of judges, but each one decorates their courtroom differently. And when you go in his courtroom, you can just tell he's a very unique individual. He has all this, unique artwork, and just the way he talks to people, right? He treats defendants like regular people. The old adage, treat the janitor, the CEO and the janitor just the same, and he does. And he talked to me, and he said, Martel, are you sure you want to plead guilty? It's you just because you're guilty in the eyes. He educated me essentially. Just because you're guilty in God's eyes or morally don't mean you're guilty legally. Are you sure you don't want to go to trial? And he educates his defendant essentially. But even deeper, when it was time to impose a punishment, he says, Martel, I dare you, be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company instead of out here selling drugs. And I just took it to heart, man, because nobody's ever even gave me a chance. And there was plenty more that he said, I'm sure, but these are the things that stuck out to me that I remember, and it's 15, 16 years later, And so
that's good. I have a philosophy where I tell people, everyone has the ability to do something, right? And when I see a young man, because I'm from the South Bronx.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So I tell people, I see him and say, listen, if you're selling drugs, why don't you take that ability and become a salesman?
Yeah.
And make legit money. You got a drug dealer, you got someone who's working with dope. Say, listen, why don't you, if you're a distributor, so why don't you distribute something? Go to a company that you know how to do something. Why put that ability to the test? Don't go out here trying to make easy money, because only two things are going to happen. You're going to end up in jail, or you're going to end up in a casket. And unfortunately, some people just don't learn. To me, going to jail should be a learning experience.
Yeah.
And you took that learning experience, and you took advantage of that. You took advantage of what Judge Morrow told you. Become a member of a CEO, become a CEO of a Fortune 500, and that's who you stuck.
Yeah, but you have to remember too, and I agree. I mean, at some point, but here's the thing. It's different for each person, man, because you got to think about it. I didn't learn the first time. First time he let me out, I made a mistake.
That is true.
And so, I think that when you're talking about how we approach criminal justice and the criminal justice reform and sentencing guidelines, I always think like there's two things to consider, right? One is, obviously, the main thing I'd say is this person going to pose a danger to the community, right? Yeah. Are you with me? And so, I mean, if you're talking about nonviolent offenses, I mean, I'm not against giving people multiple chances. If we're going to couple it with resources and couple it with opportunity, but everybody it's it's different, man. I mean, I was, it wasn't my first offense. It did take me quite a long time to get it together. To be honest, a part of it was just maturity as well. You reach a certain age and you get tired of being tired.
Oh my God. I'm gonna put that. I'll put you here. Nope.
There we are.
Oh, here we go. I mean, this is horrible, 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 horrible. Wow. It froze. I can't even get it. You see that? My bad. We need to come on. There we go. I'm telling you, it's horrible. Sorry about that. No, like you were saying, yeah. I mean, everybody that goes in the first time does not learn,
Yeah.
and that's how I became. I stopped drinking alcohol after 25 years. You become tired of you're tired of being tired, because there's only so much. There's only so much you're gonna go in front of a judge. There's only so much you're gonna go into jail. And you do the same routine over and over again. Then you say to yourself, bro, this is enough. Some people like you and I, we caught that. And unfortunately, there's a lot, and there's some people that don't. And those are the ones that I would like to touch. That's why I wanted to bring you in, because I want people to know that just because society has this thing that because you have a felony, your life is over. Because you did this, your life is over. And I wanted them to see your story because that's not true.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things, man. I didn't just I did this by trial and error when I first came out. He imposed a sentence, gave me 3 years of paper, essentially 3 years of probation, and so the first 3 years were a heck of a trial and error, man. I tried everything. Just I wanted to do right, but I didn't know how to do right. I was committed, but from substance or alcohol to sobriety is a process, right? You know that we're gonna bump our head, we're gonna make mistakes. I went and got my CDL, the commercial driver's license in 06. I did very well in class, etc. I got my license, and I couldn't get a job. They told me I was uninsurable, unbondable. Nobody wanted, because I had a fresh, drug conviction. Nobody wanted to give me a chance. So I'm like, well, now what do I do? But you just have to keep moving, just keep pushing. I've even driven ice cream trucks. I've, worked with my hands, temp service. You got to stay, moving. You can't stay stagnant, man. If you're hungry, you're going to eat. I always say that. If you're hungry, you're going to eat, And so eventually, eventually, by the time 2008 came around, I was so tired of working manual labor. I said, I'm walking into this community college.
Because, you and I are close to age, I'm assuming. And Detroit was no joke back in the days.
No, I'm 43, and Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah, Detroit. Detroit has its strengths and it's had its challenges. But generally, there's an area in Detroit called Southwest Detroit. It's primarily the Mexican district. It's mostly Latinos, very diverse area. But Detroit, I would say I'm from Wayne County in general because I've lived all around of the Detroit, even the outskirts of Detroit area, right? And so, when I definitely claim Detroit. There's a little city outside Detroit called Inkster. I've spent a lot of years in as well, the Downriver area, But when our law firms in Detroit, my heart's in Detroit. I think my story is symbolic of Detroit, and I'll tell you why. Because Detroit was counted out. Detroit was, I think that they faced we've faced our challenges. We've, definitely had, quite several times a foot on our neck, and people thought we were down and out, like when they had to bail out, etc. And here we are, and we're doing great. So, I think that it's symbolic.
Oh no, that is true because Detroit has gone a lot, through Detroit was the mecca one time of jobs. You know, the car
Yeah.
industry, a lot of manufacturing jobs in Detroit,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden it just went down, and then people move out of Detroit. Like right now, I think I heard of something that they're rebuilding Detroit. They want people to move back. They want people to move back into Detroit. You know, so it's it's all good. I think um, gentrifying is good now. So we hopefully Detroit can be what Detroit was and better, like a Detroit 2.0. But it's good to know that there are people out there who are already with, because you give you're Mexican, and that is great. You're Mexican American, and that's great because it gives other people who went through what you went through, that are going through what you went through, and say, well, I see no hope, because we're living in a political world that us Hispanics and blacks, we're getting down every day. You know, to society, we're nobodies.
Yeah, so I looked at the numbers yesterday just out of curiosity, and I think we got about 1,506 criminal law attorneys altogether in Michigan. I could be wrong in the numbers, but that's what I pulled off at the bar. Of those, only 36 were quote unquote Hispanic Latino, which is 2.4%. And you got to think about it. Not all of those are criminal defense. Some of those are prosecutors. But that, I said that to say,
What do you think is that?
I didn't grow up knowing anybody professional. We work with our hands. I think a lot of Latinos, we do, it's like social work. We're very caring, loving. We work with our hands, and I just didn't know any professionals. I think I think we're doing better at getting our kids into the university now, but not in the law school. And we need to create a pipeline, right? We need to be intentional with creating a pipeline. Even when I got into law school, I felt like I wasn't in the same social class because I come from, again, a working class background at best, right? So even the other Latinos that were there weren't from my class. And I just, it was a little socially awkward at first. But you got to have that confidence, man. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to.
That
So
is true.
I think
I tell that to everybody.
yeah. So I think we need to create a pipeline. We need to be intentional. I still do. I go to some of the Hispanic lawyer events, but I'm very community focused, right? Honestly, I feel more comfortable in the trenches. I love people. I love all people, but if I'm not helping people, I feel like I'm just, I'm not being purposeful with my gifts.
That is true. I mean, put it this way. The way I see is that you had to go through trial and tribulations to get to where you are right now. There was a purpose. You had to go through it. Looking back then, you probably like, oh, gee, man, I got. But looking through it now, you say to yourself, I had to go through all that. I had to climb mountains. I have to walk barefoot. I had to do all this to where I am now. And then now you say to yourself, now this is what I got. Now I have a gift. I'm a lawyer. So now I'm going to give back. So I commend that. I really give you props for that, because not too many people do that.
Well, I thank you. I thank you, Gio. And even the judge, man, from day one, he always said, Martel, he says that, Ed, all I ask of you is just pay it forward. Just pay it forward. And
Exactly.
that's it's important to me. And what does that really mean, though? I think we need to be intentional. I'll avail myself, of course, but I think we need to be intentional too. So and also in this next season, I really want to focus on not only continuing to work in the criminal defense sector, but also work on bringing about systematic change, just even how we look at the sentencing and criminal sentencing in general. I think we look at each one on each case on a case by case basis, and we really need to steer away from incarceration for nonviolent offenders. For one, I feel it's a waste of it's a terrible waste of taxpayer funds. For two, you got to think about this, Gio. Every father that is out of the house, what's the percentage, the increase of percentage that his son is going to end up in the penitentiary?
True.
It's generational, right? It's no different than if you see 3 and 4 generation lawyers or 3 and 4 generation, auto workers or roofers. You got whole communities where you got legacy, inmates. and that's not right. We got to do something about that.
That is true. That is true. You know that also had to do a lot with the penal system because um, I've been there and I can tell you there are some jails that do teach you, you know, and there are some that don't have no teachings at all.
Mhm.
And that's where it should start because if the correction department, the Department of Correction doesn't want recidivism to be out, then I think that once these people get into jail, like especially those first timers, those are the ones that you have to grab and say, you know what, you're gonna go get your GD, you're gonna go do something. If you got a DUI, we want you to do a DUI class. You know, you have these people because sometimes when you go to these jails, these COs, they demoralize you. They treat you like if you're a dog. You know, they think that because you're in jail, you're nobody. And that's the way. And that's the way when they go inside for the first time and then they come out. They came out worse than when they were when they came in. You know, that's and the system itself has to change, especially when people who are there for the very first time. Because a lot of people who are there for the first time, some of them don't come out. I mean, they come out and they don't want to go back in, and some of them they come out so angry. They're like, well, you know, I don't care because the way they were treated. You know, and that's not, you know, the whole entire system from the Department of Corrections to the police department, all that has to be revised. Everything has to be done. I'm with you 100% that non-violent crime criminals should not be in jail. These marijuana charges, they should not go to jail.
Yeah, Michigan has made a lot of substantial changes on the marijuana, and now our you know there's expungement available for individuals that were incarcerated for a simple possession. But yeah, I believe that things need to change systematically. But you know, it also goes to the judges, right? So if other judges thought like Judge Morrow thought, you know, I think that it would create a better opportunity for individuals, right? I mean, he could have flushed me, right? I'll tell you another piece. Time. You know, we don't talk about this often, and the mainstream media don't want to talk about it. But I'll tell you another thing that helped me stay on my path is my faith, man. You know, imagine this: I'm chasing a dream, nearly 20 years away, and I may not even be able to be an attorney. You know what I mean? Because you still have to get approved by them even after you graduate, even after you pass the bar. You have to get permission, you know, and praise God, you know, we got through. But I mean, I think the faith component is definitely, I wouldn't be here without it. So I think that's something that's notable.
And how did you go through law school? Was it hard for you? Because I see that you graduated pretty good in your classes.
Man, so look, you know, I got through community college pretty easy. Well, let me say this. I got my GED from catching a weed case just after I dropped out of high school. So I had a GED for a while and didn't do anything with it. Okay. Ironically, I'm speaking tomorrow at the commencement speech for the adult ed class where I got my GED back in 96.
Right. Oh, that's good. Right? That's good.
Circle. So it's actually, I feel better than even if it was like, you know, a big famous fancy high school because it's important to me, right? But from there, I went to the community college, and the education has started to increase my confidence, right? It just did. The more I came to class, participated in the lectures, got to shaking hands with the professors, you know, and so it started increasing my confidence. And then once I got graduated, I applied for the a scholarship they gave me, and I graduated with high marks. And they gave me the scholarship. And that, you know, at that point, I knew that we were, you know, I felt good about which direction we were headed. You know, went through the undergrad, studied political science, etc. Got off into politics for a little bit. I was elected to the school board out here. I did a stint up at the Michigan House of Representatives as a staffer, a legislative director for one of our our state reps. Then when I got to law school, and everybody told me this, but when I got to law school, the first year is so challenging. And if you don't have any academic mentorship per se, for instance, I didn't know any Mexican or Latino attorneys. Right? I didn't know any professionals. I didn't know anybody that worked in the suit, right? And so, right. You know, you need that, man. You know, my daughter's not going to have to go through that. You know, my son's not going to have to go through that. You know, and so, again, When I got up there, the first year was rough. I came in on a full ride. By the second year, I was on academic probation and lost half of my ride. But I squeezed it out and I graduated with like a 2.9. And
Okay,
nobody asked. Yeah, nobody asked what you graduated with. They just want to know that you graduate, right? But I came in with about a 4.0, and I squeezed it out with 2.9. So we made it.
through the skin of your teeth.
Yeah.
So I got a question here that Stanley says, Esquire Martel, are you thinking of going for your judgeship one day?
So in Michigan, there's a lot of conversation about that, but in Michigan, you got to have 5 years under your belt. I know a lot of times, we see TV judges and we think you can just go straight for judge, but you got to have 5 years of being an attorney, and rightfully so, because you have to know the law and you have to know the procedure, right? I really haven't thought about it, to be honest with you. I'm so focused on just practicing law. Right now, I'm doing I'm focused on criminal law. I work at the Perkins Law Group in Detroit, Michigan. We're a full-service law firm, but I specifically work in the criminal law department, and I'm pretty comfortable there right now. But what I do intend on doing is sharing my story as much as I can. Speaking to whoever will listen as far as the change that we need to have as it relates to sentencing, and I just look forward to seeing this change come about.
That's good. So for now, it's just criminal law. So judgmentship is not in the near future.
Well, I'm not thinking of it. I think long term it may be something I consider. But again, you have to have 5 years in Michigan, and I really haven't thought about it too much.
Yeah, you just became a lawyer. You just turned a lawyer. Jumping ship, right?
Hey, Gio, can I practice law for a minute?
Yeah, I know, right? Let me do that first. And you also said that you were doing federal now.
No, I've been doing legal research and writing in the federal law for since I've been with Perkins. It's something I'm very interested in. Still criminal law, but I'm not licensed to practice federally yet. But I am seeking our licensure in the Eastern District, which I'm looking forward to practicing there.
What do you have to do to be admitted to practice federal?
Federal, you have to have a sponsor. You got to be in good standing with the state bar. It's not as intricate or complex of a process as getting initially in. It's essentially, having another attorney stand up and vouch for you, and then making sure that you're in good standing.
Oh, okay.
But it differs by jurisdiction, right? So if I wanted to practice in New York, you would have to have. I don't have the court rule in front of me, but each jurisdiction has different requirements. But generally, that's what it is.
Okay. So you'll be doing both. If you go through, you'll be doing both criminal and federal.
Well, yeah, but currently I'm practicing state law, Michigan State Michigan State misdemeanor and felony matters, criminal matters, and I'm still doing the research and writing component on the federal matters, but I can't practice federal until licensed. Until admitted to the federal court.
Okay, and some of the cases that you take makes you cringe. You say, "Oh, but I have to take it anyway."
Here's the thing, and if you're going to look at cases, what you need to understand, or what a lot of people don't understand, I really didn't understand before I got here, is, we're not out here fighting for guilt or innocence, although that's what it comes down to. But we fight for due process, and if you remember that, I go to sleep at night feeling good because, my goal each and every day is to uphold due process, right? Have the laws been followed, right? So a lot of the issues fall on search and seizures or things of that nature, making sure warrants were done correctly, and making sure that, the law was upheld. So that's, due process is what we fight for.
And it's very important that us as minorities, that we know some of the law. We cannot know all the law, but that we know some of the law, because we're living in times that the law is just being walked on.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we know at least the basics, right? I mean, I respect the law, respect law enforcement, but it's important that the average individual, the average, walking down the street knows that they have the right to remain silent. That anything that they say can usually get against them in the court of law. That they have a right to an attorney. If they can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to them. That's the basic Mirandas. You need to know that because it can definitely get turned upside down if you just start sharing and etc. When the best thing to do is just make a statement at this time.
Yes, that's what I tell everybody. When you see these shows, the first 48 hours, and you see these guys talk, I'm like, what are you doing? You just don't say nothing. Even if you're guilty, you just don't say nothing. They have a job to do. They're detective. Let them detect.
Well, and again, it's we all have a job to do, and I understand that. But again, it's about protecting due process, right?
No, it is true because, and that's the one thing that we as minorities we don't know is the due process of the law because supposedly these officers are supposed to take some form of course before they become police officers, and they're supposed to know some law, not all, but those are the ones that they're going to impose, And if they come to you and you come to them and this and this that, so it could be a debate of this and that. Because you know what, I'm not going to give you my name. I don't have to give you my name. I'm not going to answer any questions and do what you have to do. And if it means that they got to arrest you, then you go to jail. And me personally, I would just go to jail and let my lawyer talk about it. That's about it. But I'm the type of person that I get pulled over, I do whatever because I'm not going to go tit for tat. Even if I was an attorney, I wouldn't go for tit for tat because I never know how that police officer is going to wake up that day. I don't know what his mood is. So I'm not going to pour fire into that. I'll do that. I'll let the courts take care of it. But like I said, that we should know as a society, and especially us minorities, blacks, browns, we should know someone's law. So that when things like this happen, when things that are happening now, we can defend ourselves.
Growing up, I watched my mother, and again, I always lean on her a lot. But I watched her go into these jails or to the police station when I was a child and just advocate for me. And I was just so impressed with the way she advocated. But she didn't have any formal education in any particular law area, but she was a very good speaker, and often was they respected that because it just sounded like she knew what she was talking about, right?
Well, she's from old school, You gotta give her that product.
Hey, they hit you with the chunk lock. No, but you're right, man. I think that's something that we need to probably implement into either middle school or high school courses. Is just basic law 101. Things like Miranda, things like search and seizure. Maybe just basic, not real in depth such as law school, but just, it might even be in a civics class, right? It might be in the same class you talk about voting and things of that nature. You talk about Miranda, and it's not, I would always suggest that when you're dealing with the police, you don't let it escalate to a level of confrontation. But sometimes that can't be avoided, and we're not in control of that, right? But to me, it always makes sense just to say, hey, here's my license, here's my registration. I do not wish to make a statement at this time.
That's what I do. Hey, but do a lot. They let my lawyer take care of it. Anything. Yeah. There's some times that I get angry, but I let it get down because I said to myself, wow. But the other day I got stopped. The guy said, because I was swerving, but I was looking for something, and he said, like you were drinking. And I'm like, you know what? In my 25 years that I was an alcoholic, I never got stopped once. Now that I'm 8 years sober, I get stopped because you think I'm drinking.
Right. I'm
like, ain't that something? I was like, I hope I don't go to jail because he thinks I'm drunk and I'm not even drinking. So, but it's good. It touches my heart knowing that someone that had your background has come so far up, and I can only imagine how many doors you're going to open. I can only imagine because you are going to be success. I can tell you that because I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your demeanor. I can see it in your 2.9 GPA that you got. I know, and that's going to be a lot of inspiration because I was talking to my nephew yesterday. We were talking about this that I was going to have in the show, and I said, people say, but it depends on where you come from. I say, listen, there are a lot of people who are born in the hood, and if you really have the determination to want to come out, you can. You're going to go through a lot of things, of course, because life's not easy. It's like when you become a Christian, it's not going to be easy to be a Christian because the devil is going to put a lot of things in your face, just to combat you. So when I look at you, I look at the Sotomayoros of the world, that she's also from the South Bronx, and look at her now, she's a U.S. Supreme Court judge. So those are the things that inspire me, that I wish it inspired more people to say, you know what, being from the hood should be something of more of an incentive, because you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to become someone. Because you always hear that thing. Oh, you're from the head, man, you're going to be nobody. You're from this, you're going to be nobody. Or you're Chicano, you're going to be nobody. Or you're Puerto Rican, or your parents are alcoholics, and you're going to be an alcoholic. You hear all that negative. And if you let all that negative go to you, you're not going to become nothing. Like you said earlier on, if you don't love yourself, no one's going to love you. So that's the first part. Love yourself and follow your dreams. And you did that. It took you some time, but you did it.
Man, I appreciate that, man. Honestly, we're doing a lot of interviews this month, but this might be my best one, because I can just be myself. Hey, Mike, I can just be myself, right?
That's true. I wasn't gonna go like this thing that.
I feel like I don't even need to have on the suit. No, I'm just teasing. Hey, but for real, you're right. I think that we may have started at the bottom, but we got to shoot high, man. And it don't matter. We can't let other people tell us where we're gonna end up. We gotta carve out our path. You gotta remember, when I first committed myself to, I remember, man, I was telling people, like, I'm gonna be a lawyer one day, and they're like, "You're a felon," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna be a lawyer one day." And then when I walked into community college, I told them, like, "What do you want to be?" I'm like, "A lawyer." They were like, "You're a felon. How about heating and cooling?" I was like, listen, let's make a deal, okay? Let me take the prerequisites, the English, math, and we'll see how I do, And so, that's our general mindset, man. You can't have this mindset of we gotta pull ourselves out of this mental prison, man.
Yeah, but that's what because you know what? Society has taught us. Society has given us that. There's a lot of listen to this. There's a lot of great people who could work out there, but they choose not to work because they have a felony record. But they don't know. A lot of people don't know that there are a lot of jobs out there that will take you with a felony.
I see, and I agree with them. It's hard to get a job with a felony record, but again, if you're hungry, you're gonna eat, man. I beat down doors. I'm telling you, I was driving an ice cream truck as a grown man. I've delivered pizzas. I've worked in a steel mill. I can still hear the steel things banging. I've worked in. I used to dig 42-inch fence post holes. Every guy on my team was on parole. I barely got $10 an hour, but I knew that God had something bigger for me. Right? So you have to do what you have to do to get by within the confines of the law, but always dream bigger, right? But still, if you're hungry, go out there and get it.
Exactly. That's what I tell people. I work in the airport and I have felonies. And I'm like, how you get? Because even though my felonies was 20 years ago, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't let that stop me.
But don't get me wrong. A lot of times, many times, you're not going to get what you're worth, unfortunately, until you prove yourself. Even when I started working in law firms, or even like my first law firm job, I was in my first year of law school, and I used to wear 3-piece suits to work every day. And they're like, "Martel, you're just a file clerk. You can wear doctors." I'm like, no. I'm dressing for the job I want,
Exactly.
And then I remember,
you got a vision.
Yeah, about 3 years later, I was working as a judicial clerk up at the court, and the lawyers who used to, I used to work for the file clerk. They're coming up there to go in front of my judge, and they're like, "Oh, he's a judicial clerk now, So now I can wear the 3-piece suit." But I knew that God had something bigger for me. I didn't know what it was. I still don't know what it is. I think, I'm just following and trying to stay up under God's umbrella, man. That's it.
Just one question before you leave. Ryu says, how did you know what was your life path, attorney or path was meant for? How did you know what was your life's path, attorney or path was meant for you, leaving criminals' life behind?
Yeah, so like I said, I've always been attracted to the law since I was young. When I was real little, my mother, she gave me this gavel You know what the judge's gavel,
Right.
right?
Yeah, Jones got me.
Yeah, and I still got it. You know, it's old. It's the old oak ones. It's all beat up, and the story is that my father, before he left, had taken it from a court while the judge was on recess, and we've always played with it as kids. You know, we play order in the
A
court, order
stolen
in the court.
gavel.
You know, order in the court. And this whole time, man, I've always kept that gavel, and I thought I was just keeping it to remember my father, man. But you know, the older I got, I realized that I was chasing my purpose, you know, and I'm supposed to be a lawyer, all right? And so, you know, this is what I'm supposed to
You're gonna
be.
be one of the best, bro.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that.
I put down Perkins Law Firm in Detroit. You want to leave a number there if you want?
Yeah,
Hold on a minute.
may I say it on the show?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, Perkins Law Group, full service law firm, handling criminal, state, fed, family, civil law, labor law, probate law, 313-964-1702. If you want to speak to me, you can reach me at that number as well. I'll be in the criminal law department. If you have any issues, please give me a call.
964 what?
964 is area code 313-964-1702.
All right, that is Perkins Law Firm. Let me see how much I got it there. Perkins Perform. All right.
Yeah, real quick. We just did an interview with Oidia Telemundo. It's supposed to be dropping this week, so that should be pretty good as well.
All right, you let me know when it is so I can tune in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Edwards, I appreciate Mr. Martel. I appreciate your time. Like I said, you're going to go places. Like you said, you're passing it forward, which is a great thing to do. Don't let anything or anyone deter you. I know that you're probably going to get some snot-nosed district attorney and you're going to get snot-nosed judges. Don't let that deter you. I want to give my blessings out to Judge Morrow because he did a great job. I wish there were more judges like him that would take that leap of faith and say, you know what, I'm going to give this kid a chance. And hopefully that kid that's watching the show can say, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing as Martel did. Maybe not become a lawyer, but to become what he or she wants to do. And don't let those little past things, get in their way because, the sky has no limit and neither should anyone else.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you greatly. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all my family in Texas, the Martel family, Dallas, Poteet, San Antonio, my Diaz family in Pontiac, and everybody in Detroit. And I appreciate you, Gio.
Now in Spanish, España, en español, tienes que hablar en español porque si no hablas español. Anyway, no, man, it was great, man. It was a pleasure having you here. You have me for life. If you ever need anything, I'm here in North Carolina. I'm 100% Puerto Rican. Thank you. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate you coming to my show. Much love, and also thank for Karen for setting this up.
Have a good one, brother.
All right, take care. God bless.